Welcome to Serving Your Market as Kings or Queens. If you are looking for an interesting commercial, marketing, and sales podcast that is bold, unfiltered, unconventional, and authentic, you are at the right place. Curious how to play the game better and smarter? We will share how we crack the code to hyper growth for our customers. We will invite amazing people. We will share our experience, the first attempts in learning, cracking the code, and finally the results. And last but not least, we will give you food for thought. Now, let's get started.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the podcast of Serving Your Market Like a King or Queen. And we welcome today Nikos. Hi, Nikos, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Hi, Jeroen. Hi, Liesbeth.
Hi, Nikos.
Welcome again, Nikos. And let's do a little bit of an introduction, Nikos, man. So, Nikos has 12 years experience in marketing, demand gen, and ABM. And the last 5 years, he's been working for some of the leading organizations within managed IT service and cloud infrastructure space, and currently is a demand generation leader for the largest European cloud service provider. So again, welcome, Nikos, man. And
thanks.
Yeah, what do we'll be talking about today? So that will actually all be about demand gen in a relationship-driven world. So we will go into real life stories, examples, tips, and tricks on how to create demand internally to succeed externally into your market. But yeah, as we all know, before we will start with the conversation and kick it off, we will have a drink with our guest. And first of all, Nikos, what are you having?
Oh, today I have a really British classic cocktail. It's called espresso martini. It's a sort of vodka of coffee liqueur and espresso shot. So, cheers.
Cheers. You make me jealous, Nikos. But I heard a little bit about a cocktail. So normally I take a wine, but this time we have very tropical temperatures here. So I made not a caipirinha made from cachaça, but a capi vodka made from vodka as well. So cheers to you as well. Cheers.
Cheers.
And you, Jeroen?
Cheers, guys. So we know Nikos obviously for some time now, and we both, Liesbeth, have been working with Nikos in our previous company. He worked for the UK business, and we from the Netherlands for the European entity. And we every time we went over to UK, it was always fun time as well, and we drank our IPA. So I couldn't resist to opt also for an IPA. It's an IPA called Brouwhoeve. It's actually an IPA that has they originate from Spain, and they have also a brewery in the Netherlands. So I think that mix is quite fun. You don't see that too often, obviously, that they have two locations actually there, and it's a quite small one. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the chat as well. So yeah, cheers, guys.
Then. So cheers. Good. So, Nikos, well, I was thinking about the first question, because if you look at the overall landscape, how do you see that demand gen is evolving from top of the funnel up to helping to drive revenue or to assist in accelerating in the pipeline? What is your view on that?
Yes, actually, let me first a little bit demystify the role of demand generation, explain a little bit the differences between demand generation, a little bit of lead generation.
That's a good one.
And yes, because sometimes there is a fog, I would say, and you have to make it clear. And in fact, demand generation is actually covering all stages of the buyer's journey. In a lot of the cases, demand generation addresses awareness, educate, engage with prospects and customers. Pass leads, I would say, over to sales team, and of course help even the whole customer life cycle, how to identify opportunities, new opportunities, cross-sell, upsell, etc. So nurture them. So this is the biggest difference first. And the importance actually of demand generation of touching all stages of the buyer's journey, not only the top funnel, has emerged a lot by different studies like from Gartner that shows that only 70% actually of buying groups within accounts, within companies, are meeting with potential suppliers, suppliers. So the rest of the time, either they're meeting together, they're researching websites, they're going out in media to consume content, and this makes very important actually for demand generation marketeers to touch them there in the watering holes. From another point also, with the modern tools and by being able to conduct the buyer's journey mapping, all these things has helped organizations understand better how buyers actually interact with the companies. And eventually, the scope of demand generation has been extended a lot. And nowadays influence the whole journey, digital and human touch points, from events, from direct marketing that still is live, I would say, although with pandemic has been slowed down a little bit. But of course, with digital, being in Google, being in IT website, in content or display advertisement, it's touching everything. And definitely, the whole activation happening across all stages of the journey, awareness, educating with light content asset or heavier one, that sometimes sales team cannot really, I would say, push this content to the prospects easily. And in the very end of the day, demand generation really assists in closing opportunities. But after closing opportunities, the job is not done yet. You have also the customer life cycle that demand generation is still engaging with the customers, educating them and supporting further, really conveying this message of trusted partner and identify continuously these signals of upsell, cross-sell opportunities and assist to close these opportunities even with sales, physical teams, or in some organizations with other channels like e-commerce channel in their website.
Yeah, so actually I used the wrong word, right? I should have said lead generation in top of the funnel and demand gen over the whole funnel. That would have been, should have been my question, right?
No worries. It was just me actually clarifying a little bit better about also how the market sometimes perceive demand generation as just lead generation rather than demand that actually covers all the stages of the journey. So it's still very relevant.
Yeah. And that's, I think, exactly the difference between a kind of more siloed approach where marketing throws kind of the leads over to sales, and in this way where you really stay in, in control actually of the whole funnel and where you can access to push it a little bit further.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I think you instantly what you tell now, right? I think lead generation in itself is almost a thing that marketing can do, right? In isolation still, right? Especially if they just have to deliver on, we all know the lovely MQL, right? But yeah, if you obviously go into a revenue generation play, right? It is critical that you collaborate, right, with other revenue generating teams, and the one which is closest by, right, is I think you explained, right, the sales process, or so the sales team. But you, in some scenarios, right, you also have customer success management being responsible for driving the upsell, right. But let's keep it to the sales side of things first. If you want to make that kind of transition, right, what would be towards a stronger collaboration, right? What are the biggest challenges you see actually in the collaboration between marketing and sales in demand gen at the moment?
Very interesting question, actually, because I would say it's one of the challenges many organizations used to face and will continue doing that. And let me first say that for me, demand generation, or for me, marketing and sales is one team. And the success of a business to transition to more revenue-driven approaches and to have success is definitely by working as one team. Today, indeed, there are many challenges facing those teams, and I would like to position them as two big categories. One category is about us teams, us colleagues between marketing and sales. There is sometimes a misperception that from sales, for example, that marketing team has two customers. For example, the end customer, we're going to buy the product, and marketing. From the other side, marketing sees sometimes sales as the people that can pick up the phone and can do miracles, close the deal in no time. But in a company, actually, marketing and sales and all other departments or other teams were internal stakeholders, were a team. So there are no transactional relationships. So this has to be always clear to the teams, and these are the challenges we always face. Another challenge I would say we face a lot.
One thing, Nikos, I think that what you mentioned now about the stakeholder piece, I think that's a very important one, right? It's really something to express on. I would say it's great that you bring it to the forefront, because in the market we see now more, like you said, sometimes it being communicated that marketing is the customer of sales or sales is the customer of marketing, right? Vice versa. But I think what you expressed there, right, is you are each other's stakeholders, right? I think that's well said. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, stakeholders were colleagues, and I would say we're equal always. And this is actually a healthy, I would say, way of working together and a spirit to cultivate within a company, within a team, within one commercial team. And moving forward also about the different challenges, I would say a lot of the times is about understanding of the different teams of marketing and sales together, each other role. What are the daily struggles? What are the main objectives and KPIs to succeed their role? Because overcoming such challenges can really help on better collaboration. Some cases there are a bit of no agreed collaboration framework in terms of who is in charge of what, responsibilities, service levels agreement, I would say, that govern the handoffs between the teams and the actions within different stages. And then
I like that service level agreement where you're talking about. It's because you always think about SLAs or XLAs with customers. But why not with your internal stakeholders?
Yeah.
Yes, and especially as the teams grow, because I've managed to work in very small companies and very big ones. And when you're a small team, sometimes it can be easy without SLAs, but when you're growing a lot, although I'm not a big fan of being, having heavy process and being a bureaucrat, I think it is required to make sure that everybody is on the same page and not pointing fingers to anyone, but knowing exactly who is doing what and when. And
it's the responsibility side, right?
Yeah. Or accountability, better said. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. And maybe a little bit of a sidestep, right? But I was speaking to a couple of CROs earlier this week, and one of them talked about the implementation of a revenue handbook, right? And which was all about, again, also that which revenue teams are, what are their responsibilities, accountabilities, and so on. What can we expect from each other, right? And I think that's critical as an understanding, indeed. Good point on the SLAs.
Yeah, it's really a crucial part to have to adopt more and more. And then it's a lot of other things, I would say, in terms of ad hoc interaction, instead of continuous dialogue between the teams. So you need to be a bit more systematic, some cases, or absence of actually bringing insights and continuous feedback on the table, both the marketing team and the sales team. And continues having this engagement and relationship. Then the second bit I would like to touch is a little bit about how we plan together as marketing and sales team. And it's a little bit about the challenges we face. It's about the lack of common goals and planning together from the beginning of the year, on the quarter reviews, on half of the year, etc. And other challenges about understanding what is the marketing potential with the total addressable market. So what is the value of the market potential for the company that must gain share and revenue? Or what is the serviceable available market, the sum? So but actually the total available market minus the specific of the company's offering or services. And last also is about what are the true percentage of accounts that can be realistically be targeted depending on competition and objectives. The SOM, as we call it, the serviceable obtainable market. Because all these things are very important to understand what's in the company out there. And continue with this, I would say what's in there and how we analyze the market as a sales and marketing team is an agreement on what are the priority industries, the relative targeting. What industries, verticals, sub-verticals are the most relevant based on internal factors or external factors, regulations, competition, etc., to reach. And then crafting the target account list, the TAL, as we call it, this acronym in the marketing and sales world. And of course, the foundation of it, that is the ICP, the ideal customer profile, that you can leverage it, both teams, for one-to-one, more account-based marketing approaches, or one-to-few, more, I would say, massive demand generation. And please allow me a little bit to touch a little bit the ICP, the ideal customer profile, because it's a very important topic that is sometimes, I would say, it's so easy, but a lot of organizations sometimes ignore it and can solve a lot of challenges today. And just say a little bit that ideal customer profile is just a description of a company that is a perfect fit for a solution of the company. A company may provide 10 solutions. We have to identify each solution, what is the ideal customer profile. And doing this exercise, crafting the ICP, in fact, it's more about a reflection between within the commercial team on what are the successful customers within this solution. So the top customers, how they look like, or what companies would like to turn into customers in an ideal world. What's the characteristics of those ideal customers, potential customers, or existing customers? What's the size? What's the vertical, geography, perhaps budget, revenue, technology they use, or expertise they have inside? And at the very end of the day, the outcome of it, of the ideal customer profile, is just a statement. For example, for a company, can be the ideal customer profile is a B2B SaaS company in the UK that has an IT team of at least 10 people, has expertise across XYZ virtualization, or for example, IT infrastructure technologies, an annual recurring revenue of 10 million. And the customer database is made up of medium, I would say, large businesses that require significant security and data compliance measures. And that's pretty much. And that's actually give us direction of where we go.
I would like to take it further and saying it's, I call it as building the foundation for your house. And we even like to take it further than what you're mentioning, also looking at really behavior, values, if you have a kind of shared belief, because I think we take that extra step, you can even achieve more next to, well, the basics you're mentioning it right now. Yeah, I like the thought. And if you take from the beginning and you all have that same focus.
Yes, actually uniting at the same time the team, having aligned, I was being very aligned in terms of where we focus of accounts, of activities, and continuously assess the performance. And there are various metrics to assess the performance out there about the funnel velocity, for example, to see how specific segments within tiers, within this target account list that was built based on the ideal customer profile performs, and then identify new opportunities, how to adjust it and make it better. Because in the end of the day, commercial teams, they want to sell, and they want to sell faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you look at the execution side of it, and what you're saying, hey, you get the most value out of it when you work as one commercial team. Well, we also know how the results look like if you do that or taking a siloed approach. So, but if you look at the execution itself, we're living in a digital world. Everything becomes more and more transactional. And you were just talking about building those relationships in the right accounts. So how do you balance together with the sales team, the human and digital touch points?
Mm-hmm. Very good, interesting question. Because indeed today, loads of the activities we do are digital. Still, there is a human touch element, the physical sales, but also the physical marketing, I would say. The way actually, from my experience, a lot of the times, to balance and connect those two together is building some foundations, identify the personas, and assessing what are the personas. Because as the business evolves, brings new offerings to the market, new personas are created, or personas need adjustment, reviews, because the roles of personas, the roles of people that are a potential target audience evolves a lot. And so first thing first, personas. Who are these personas? What are the watering holes? So where they live, they're active. What are the main challenges? What are the main drivers? And what makes them successful in their role? Because at the same time, we have to speak to their needs for what can make them successful in their role. And second one is, I would say, understanding how these personas interact with the company, with the company I work for example. And it's a lot about doing the mapping of the whole journey, how the buyers interact, digital, physical, at all stages of the journey. And it's very interesting when you do this exercise, because you plan for the buyer's journey, how it's going to look like, and when you actually do the actual mapping, you identify that it's completely different, and you have to readjust of how you touch them, how you influence the buyers, and how you can actually close them into wins. And of course, the help of different marketing technology stack, marketing automation, ABM technologies, etc., have helped us a lot, being today very intelligent to make such exercises. A third element I would like to touch at the same time in terms of how to connect both worlds is a lot about leveraging intent data. And intent data, more about, I would say, signals in the systems, and to be a bit more specific, also for the audience, intent data is actually a way to get information data from companies' internal system, but also from third parties, and see accounts that have an interest in the market, high propensity to invest in something. So in these systems, we can see that an account or people within an account start having a growing interest, research, or really being on the late stage on specific topics. It can be about specific purchasing specific technology, consume specific content, interact with specific vendors.
So it could be, Nikos, just as an example, it could be they're looking for, let's make it specific, looking for a cloud solution.
Yes,
but it could also be that there's intent on a specific issue or a topic, so to say, I don't know, security, for example, or that they're looking for a cloud infrastructure, multi-cloud solution. Is that the type of intent difference that you could have for top of the funnel or lower in the funnel? Okay.
Sure. It's a little bit of some magic happening in the background, and indeed you can see that perhaps a company is looking for a multi-cloud solution, hybrid cloud solution, which vendor they may interact with, what are the specific topics they have top in the agenda based on the content they interact, and all these insights are great insights because you can then personalize your website to these accounts on what content you serve, how the journey gonna look like. You can craft specific advertisement, personalized to those accounts' needs, what they're looking for. You can inform the sales team about what to discuss and how they can actually go to the point that that's their needs, because this makes a big difference when they interact with the accounts. And at the very end of the day, you can make all this marketing and sales process much smoother and much more cost effective, spending less marketing dollars on spraying and praying, I would say, but more on talking to the right people, the right time about what they want to hear.
So the first time you implemented something like this, right? So what was the reaction from the sales team when they saw what was possible with this?
Yes, every change comes, I would say, it becomes a challenge for organization. In the beginning, it could be a little bit of misunderstood of how they can, what exactly does, how it works, how they can implement. So I would say it required a lot of education, getting the right stakeholders on board, and then, of course, creating some simple campaigns that we can activate it step by step and then scale up. Of course, every change comes with a big learning curve, but I would describe it as very successful and created more appetite for more such campaigns or advancing it within the business.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So I'm just thinking very specific, right? Maybe even tactical, but yeah, sometimes it's good, right, to hear from you also from how you have done it in the field. What would you recommend to start, right? You're building this out with your team, right? Or someone from the audience said, yeah, it's fantastic how Nikos is laying this out. So how would you start to drive this adoption, right? What kind of platforms do you use for that? Do you communicate this over email? Do you use a sales or commercial QBR for this to present this? Do you test it out in smaller groups and start engaging with individual salespeople first? Or what would be your advice to someone who says, this is what I want to test out, but I really want to assure that the adoption level of the sales team and the understanding of what it can bring them is there?
Sure. First things first, I would say, depending on the organization, we try to find some sponsors within the business. And because some case we need to engage more senior people, depends, of course, what your position in the business, to support you further. Second one should be part of the planning. So it's somewhere there, and then engage a small group of people that can go and pilot that. And it could be usually the people that are the most collaborative people, or more the open for change, or more hungry people for new activities, new initiatives.
Yeah. So they become the internal champions.
Exactly. And then start finding more and more ambassadors of actually supporting, backing up, and selling more and more people. And of course, engaging the vendor very well to educate, provide inputs of what are the best case practices with other clients of them, and start doing something small. As I say a lot of the times to different teams, Rome was not built over one night. Yes. So we have to set small bricks and build this up and become a revenue machine. Because indeed, intent data can become a machine that continuously brings all these insights on a weekly basis that can completely transform the way we do sales, we do marketing, and how we accomplish better results.
You ever kind of swapped, Nikos? So my experience was, once I started with driving customer conversations, that they gave me whole other insights than actually the account executive was having. And that was very interesting because then you can combine those insights. So mostly they know more that they're in this case, their IT roadmap, but not the real pains or the challenges can be more kind of political driven, or, it can be anything, or personal challenges. And those insights were so valuable that we were able to open up new conversations into that account. Although we thought we could only sell infrastructure because they were far ahead of where we were standing at the time. But the whole conversation changed and there were new opportunities on the table. So for me, it was, it cost time. But something I really learned a lot from, and also to, keep up building that in my system or in the system of our customers.
Exactly. I feel it's very crucial of marketing team being even engaged more, understanding more the customers, because sometimes I feel we're a bit in a silo that we create them as marketeers, and we need to go in the field a little bit with the sales team and get these inputs. Of course, sales teams can do a great job on bringing these messages from the field, but it's a bit different when you are in the battle to understand their challenges and understand the challenges of the customers and try to find innovative ways of how to support the sales process. Intent, for example, data is a thing that really comes into place because sometimes salespeople, they don't know, for example, if they're having other project discussion, if there are other buying groups within the same account, so same organization are discussing a different project that your company, my company, can address this project, this need. And I would say it's the magic of having teams working together and bringing continuously new things, new ideas on the table. And really change, I would say, also the passion and the dedication of teams. And I think teams being a bit more engaged on this way can feel a bit more refreshed and restarting, I would say, the way they work and they dedicate their time and energy to the business.
So if you look, Nikos, at a couple of things, right? I think we covered the intent data piece, right? Do you have maybe some other examples of more an account targeting approach? And would be great if you could give one which was successful and also one where you know where it stands for, right? Failed, but then where you had a first attempt in learning.
Let me start with a fail. I would say it can come easily in the top of our mind. Because it's great also reflecting about what hasn't worked a lot of the times, not seeing only the positive things. It doesn't work to move forward. So I would say somewhere it's a continuous problem, I would say challenge. I have seen of one size content doesn't fit all personas. What do I mean by that? In demand, in the modern sales and marketing and sales, we activate content, a lot of content, and organizations take it, I would say, adopt it more and more, but sometimes don't really adopt the way that you use the content, how you target the right people. And I have done this rookie mistake, I would say, of using flat content for different personas, different seniorities at the same time, and of course it couldn't create engagement. And when reviewing the content, in fact, the content was quite high level. So could have a great engagement with more senior people, but not with the people the rest of the people participating in the buying group and the people that actually play a crucial role for the decision at the same time. Some other times also have seen that this, I would say, not good content crafting was because of time, and really time is required to plan everything in advance, engage the right stakeholders, put everybody's inputs in place to succeed in terms of delivering a great campaign for the targeting the ideal customer profile. From the other hand, I have seen also a great campaign that was about accelerating opportunities within marketing and sales, because for me, the demand generation doesn't stop on just before there becomes a customer, but also have to help assist the sales organization to accelerate those opportunities, accelerate the pipeline. And I recall a campaign that we had identified with the team that several opportunities were stacked in the pipeline, and it was aligned with a specific solution that the company I used to work for was aligned for these opportunities. So what we did at this point was we're using intent data, identified some intent surges within some of those accounts. So also tracked what they were searching, topics, vendors, etc., etc. So we sat down the same table with marketing and sales team, and we said, okay, we have to assist on that, and let's do some marketing, sales and marketing together, because sales team push specific message to those accounts, but they cannot reach to a bigger audience within the buying range. So let's go with the same message and reach even a bigger audience to influence those accounts. So craft the right messages and run a series of ads to demonstrate our expertise. Why are we better versus the competitors that actually they were evaluating? And we put together content pieces, research content pieces, case studies, even a more small-scale event, and we put it in front of the right people to a bigger audience versus what the sales team could address before. And it was a campaign that actually touched the whole lines of the business. So even procurement team, finance team that are heavily engaged within the buying group. And it was a great success. Yeah. And I would say this was one of the examples of the power of working together, really as one team, and the power of reacting to trends that happening in the market with the data or within the accounts being stacked, while at the same time we need to hit revenue goals.
I think it's a great example. For me, actually, three kind of innovative, let's leave it out. Three innovative things come all into play, right? It's one, helping to accelerate opportunities, right? I'm pretty confident that that's not a generic play at the moment still. I think a lot of teams still need to make the transition to that. I think using intent data, I think for a lot of cases in the market, it's still being used as a top of the funnel thing, right? Is to get actually initial intent on a certain topic or so on, but now use it also for later on. And looking for wider, right, engagement into people that even spends maybe outside of the buying group, right? Or at least an influencer like procurement, which sits outside of that. So that's spot on, man. I like that example very much. But that probably leads me into another topic, which I think would be relevant and interesting to get your viewpoints on, right? So, and that's probably the measurement part, right? Because in an old demand gen world,
how do you measure?
Yeah, exactly. The old way of measuring things, right? It's just deliver me the MQL, right? Import it into Salesforce, tie a campaign to it, and off we go, man. And then it's up to the sales team to start converting them to ops, and that's the way we used to do it, right? But now we are in a relationship-driven, account-centric, working together kind of world. You need to shift probably from a demand lead-centric, buyer-centric, right? And then just in a one particular individual type of funnel towards, say, an account-centric and buying group funnel, right? And that comes with, I would say, with implementation, adoption by the sales and marketing team. And how do you drive that implementation, man? How do you do that?
Yes. I would say it's a hard topic because measurement can be very complex, especially when you use different platforms and different teams work in a different way of adding records. And let me clarify a few things. And
cool.
Because today, indeed, a lot of organizations still work with a lead setting approach. But the reality is we don't sell to individuals. We don't sell to leads. We don't have buyers. That is one-man show in a company. No. We sell to groups of individuals, the buying groups within the organization that, of course, have a specific need. And in fact, what has been identified is that there are more than one selling opportunities within an organization. So there can be many different buying groups within an account organization that the X company can address even all of the buying needs, all of their projects they're evaluating. So in terms now of implementation, how to manage this. Talking about, a lot of time we're going to talk about marketing automation, we're going to talk about CRM solutions, and they have one common thing that is about opportunities and about the contacts. So, and this actually makes our life a little bit easier. But if I start a little bit earlier, it's a little bit about, first thing first, about defining the target market of accounts based on the ideal customer profile. Together with marketing, sales, telesales, SDRs, BDMs, ISRs, all the dream team together. Second one, I would say it's about identifying the active intent, who is in the market really at the very moment, to understand it. And then start generating responses. So starting getting response from individuals as we always did. Download something, we visit the website, etc., etc. Then a way actually to start doing the work in the background is start defining the association, interpreting actually the directions marketing is generating to understand the context, what the person is interested in, and identify the potential buying groups, who the person is. Because before, what we're used to do is one person is a lead and aligns with an account, and that's all. Now we have to identify these different individuals. Who are they? If they belong to the same buying group with an organization, and actually put them all under one umbrella that is the account, and do this mapping. Then, of course, we can continue doing this score and prioritization of the contacts based on the profile and engagement. And we can do it even better by aggregating the scores of the multiple buying groups members, and then hand off the buying group when the combined score actually passes a given threshold. So in fact, instead of passing leads that fulfill a specific score, now can pass over the whole group of individuals belonging in that group, on a buying group, to the sales team. No. And now they can actually go and sales team can engage with more people and find more ways to open the doors and make discussions and even identify more people within the buying groups, because they can they already have access to some of them. Then, of course, it's about informing the telequalification reps of the possible buying groups so that they engage with them. And intent data also can be used to identify and record all these behavioral indicators of the individuals and to get a better picture of the buying group intentions. In the very end of the day, as always, the rep qualifies the potential opportunity on the basis of all these insights. In fact, it's a little bit the difference about of how we do it, because the system exists. Change of mainly of mindset and started adopting to this different way of doing things.
Yeah, but I think that's a very important thing that you expressed, right? I think first of all, because if you start changing these processes on your and so on, before the mindset is being changed, right? We need to go towards like you said, right? It's a as a team or see this as a team sport or one commercial team. If that mindset is not in place and everybody still is okay with the silo, right, then it doesn't work. Then you change the funnel or the approach or whatever, and then you instantly get into issues, right?
Yeah, you have to understand indeed that it's a team sport, definitely, and you have to have a mindset change that, of course, takes some time. Everybody's understanding about what is it about what are the actions have to be implemented, and adopting a real cross-departmental, I would say, departmental account-setting revenue funnel versus the traditional lead demand funnel, which indeed a lot of organizations still see it as a marketing thing, but no.
Exactly.
Generating business.
Yeah.
So everyone is responsible for that. And of course, in the very end of the day, as you said, Jeroen, is not to do this, to make it happen. It's required to identify really who is involved in this project, the different teams, agreeing on the states of definition, agreeing on the performance measurement, defining all these service level agreements that govern the handoffs between the actions and within the stages, and then starting getting the organization prepared transitioning to this new way of doing things, because the flow and the measurement are going to start change, and there are challenges indeed. It's very likely also, say,
it would be boring
challenges.
if there aren't challenges, right?
Oh yeah. Otherwise, no reason to do it.
Never dull moment.
Yeah. No. But also one of the challenges that you usually face with transitioning to this approach is that there is less volume actually of delivering to the teams. If you, let's say, keep the same number of accounts targeting, you're going to have less volume. So of course everybody should be aware of that, but the whole focus will be in the quality. So we're going to have better conversion rates. So in fact, this less volume is actually something a bit fake. The reality is going to have way better wins. And definitely this happens because we don't treat anymore the leads one by one, but as a buying group where those individuals align with. So now we can...
and Nikos, basically your lead volume will go down, but your account engagement will go up, right?
Will go up, and the way the engagement rate with them and how you can convert them will go really higher. So you will focus on less people, but those people who have aligned needs. You can get better insights because you can talk with them, you get all these signals from the systems, but when you discuss with them, at the same time, you can have accomplish actually better results. And it's all about selling smart.
Yeah, and so when you look at the responsibility of marketing, so well, where it begins, it's quite obvious. Of course, that can also be a joint venture, but where does it stop? So we talk about generating new business, generating customers, but on one hand, you have attracting those customers. But secondly, you want to retain your customers. Yeah, you want to increase your customer lifetime value. So how do you see that responsibility to act on that?
Sure. I would say like a revenue machine in a business never stops. And the same thing about marketing and sales and the demand generation role never stops. And actually, today there is a emerging role of customer marketing. I would say that also touches more about the customers, but in some cases when actually customer marketing doesn't really exist, the two roles really go hand by hand. So they complement each other when you close a customer, okay? So we don't stop when you close a customer. But when it doesn't exist, then the demand generation drives a lot the customer life cycle, okay? And I would say more specifically, it touches initiatives with many different departments because there are always synergies, collaboration, and touches things like onboarding customers to the business, to selected products or solutions with really valuable material. Can be guides, can be content, can be inviting to communities that the company may has, events that organize, etc., etc. Educating a lot about the products and mainly about how the customers can do their job better, and reinforcing a lot these that I'm a trusted partner message, because customers, they don't stay with a business just because the price or how shiny the products are, because they trust because the vendor, because it's a partner that's gonna support them in even the difficult time. And we do it a lot as demand generation marketeers with events, with content, again, with different materials to go and reinforce all these messages. Another thing also we do a lot as demand generation marketeers after the prospect is won is about identifying continuously these signals for upsell and cross-sell opportunities. We discussed before a lot about intent data, but even when it's a customers, we can see intent data from our CRM or market automation system or from third parties if they interact with specific topics that we like engaging with security content, or seeing from third parties that indeed there is a security content engaged a lot, so perhaps there is a project about security, infrastructure, security software, etc. Mm-hmm. So we identify these signals a lot and uncover some upsell or cross-sell opportunities. Mm-hmm. And this is, I would say, a crucial role that demand generation plays to continuously assist sales team to sell more. Other ways I have seen a lot of demand generation marketeers supporting sales after customers close is with invitations to alpha or beta tests of products and getting the first adopters of new technologies, new solutions, and then actually convert them into paid customers. I have seen a lot of helping with, say, engaging the community, and in general, I would say assisting even those customers becoming a positive publicity for us. So as demand generation marketeer, I work a lot with Marcoms always to go and create case studies, testimonials, PRs, and then go and push them in the market even more, or repurpose the content from PRs and case studies to use it for different stages of the journey, or activate my audience. And really those customers become a way to attract new customers, generate referrals, or generate reviews. There are today many big websites with reviews that always the buyers are gonna visit them, either they're in early stage of the journey, or when they wanna make a decision, they're gonna see and validate you, who you are. Mm-hmm. So it's a great opportunity always to invite my customers to write an honest review that's gonna help me show who I am as a business. And in the very end of the day, I would say the biggest value I have seen that demand generation bringing when a customer is closed, so through its entire customer life cycle, is definitely bringing more revenue. Because don't forget that revenue is coming from the whole business. Sales, of course, the team gets a lot of credit because they own the customers, but still demand generation influence a big part of this revenue that's attributed to the portfolio.
Cool, man. I think you gave some good examples indeed, that it's all about also creating that demand internally, right? For example, at a PR department on how to help them actually to get more out of the referrals, the reviews, the wins, and so on. And take some great examples here. So Yeah, just as a final, maybe like a kind of a bonus question, so to say, right? So we've heard a lot about the transition, right, and how to start creating demand internally to succeed externally. But yeah, that comes also with change for you, right? As a person, you probably have changed also quite heavily over the last years in order to be where you're at now. So how do you adopt to change as a demand leader, and what would be the tip that you have for the audience actually for this?
Yeah, sure. Really interesting. In fact, I would say as a demand leader, but in general, as a person, as a colleague, as an employee within a company, I try first for every change to understand what is a change and understand the benefits. And I really like also when I drive changes within my life or business or personal life to understand what it's about, what are the risks, what are the benefits of it. And then, of course, making clear an understanding of all the stakeholders engaged within this change. In the very end of the day, I try, of course, by understanding the value of it, I try to have a positive attitude and react with a big smile, I would say, to such changes. In general, having a positive attitude of what you're doing, when you're changing, and understanding the why really proved to be the driving power for me to adjust to very fast-paced environments, either it's business or personal ones, but also have helped me to become a successful ambassador within the businesses of all these changes, and being trusted as well, same time, to lead projects, important projects for the businesses that define a lot of the future. So for me, if I was about to give just a recap and a tip for the audience, I would say understand it, embrace it, get a big smile on your face, and drive it.
Nice. Well said, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, I think it was a great conversation, man. I look back at some really interesting topics. Of course, we work together, right, in the Mongen, but I've seen that it's been tremendously evolved, and today I've learned some really new viewpoints and approaches and tips and tricks to take it to the next level. So thank you for that from both me and Liesbeth, as I would say. So I think as a wrap up, right, for today, we learned about demand gen in a relationship-driven world, basically how to create demand internally to succeed externally. Talked about working together between sales and marketing, balancing human and digital touches. Learn about the different way of measuring things, right, from lead-centric to account-centric, working together. So yeah, thanks again, Nikos, for this. If the audience wants to reach out to you, Nikos, so how can they best reach out to you? Can they contact you via LinkedIn or email, or what would be preferred for you?
Yeah, sure. You can reach me out at my LinkedIn. It's actually my first and last name. You can see on the screen, Nikos Stouiloudis, and always happy to share my insights and tips and tricks, I would say, and really happy to engage with the community because I'm a really big fan of communities and how people can unite, share ideas, and drive change.
Perfect, man. Appreciate it. All right. Then I would say thank you all for listening in and watching in, and then we'll see you next time. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Serving Your Market as Kings or Queens. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you in the next episode.